Konnichiwa. Hi guys. Thank you for taking my course. This is chapter 1, lesson 1. In chapter 0, we learned some basic knowledge about Japanese or some basic vocabularies that we're gonna use in chapter 1 to 3. And from chapter 1, we're gonna start learning some grammars. And the main goal of this lesson is to be able to introduce yourself. But I'm not gonna use complicated grammar, but we're just gonna be able to use I am something. But even just to say this easy sentence, there are a lot of important grammars, and to understand them is super important so that later you don't have to struggle. So please pay attention and let's be able to introduce yourself. So I start with the easy sentence, I am Saya, but first let me explain one of the most important grammar. For this sentence, we're gonna use two important grammar, and this is the first one. So the order of the sentence, or the order of the words in the sentence is really different from English. For example, if you wanna say I am Saya, in Japanese, I, the subject of the sentence, still can stay in the beginning, but the verbs come in the end. What I mean is, if you wanna say I am Saya, you cannot say I am Saya in this order in Japanese, but you have to say I, Saya, am, because am is the verb, and the verb has to come in the end of the sentence in Japanese. Same thing happen even though you say like I do something. For example, if you wanna say I eat an apple, you have to say I apple eat. No matter how many elements there are in the sentence, verbs still come in the end. If you wanna say I studied Japanese with Saya teacher at school, blah blah blah, still it should be I with Saya teacher at school, blah 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 blah, and then study. Another thing that is super important is, I talked about it a little bit already, but we use a lot of particles. Particle is a word that shows which is the subject of the sentence, which is the object of the sentence, what you are talking about, who did what. And it's impossible to talk in Japanese without particle. Because, for example, in English, if you wanna say a cat eats a fish, just because you say in this order, cat eat fish, you know that the cat is the one who eat fish. Fish is the one who is eaten by cat. But in Japanese, sometimes this word's order change. You could also say cat eat fish or fish eat cat. So if you don't use particle, you don't know who eat what. For example, to say cat eats fish, cat is neko. Fish is sakana. Eat is tabemasu. First, the sentence order should be cat, fish, eat, because as I just explained, the verb should come in the end. So it should be cat, fish, eat. And now we have to put subject particle wa after neko, and then object particle after sakana. In this way, now we know that cat eats fish. So what would happen if I change particle? For example, here I put wo after neko instead of wa. Wo is the object particle. And I put subject particle wa after sakana. So the sentence is neko wo sakana wa tabemasu. And this sentence still makes sense and it's grammatically correct. But the meaning is different now because we changed the particle. Now, subject is sakana because I put subject particle, and object is neko because I put object particle there. So the meaning of this sentence now is fish eat cat. So in English, you can know who did what, which is a subject, just because of the words order of the sentence. Just because you say cat first and then verb and then fish, you know that cat is the one who eats fish. But in Japanese, because the words order is unstable, you can change object and subject and stuff. That's why instead we use particle to clarify who did what and which is the subject and which is the object. In this lesson, we're gonna use only subject particle. We're not gonna do the sentences that have object particle. Let's try translate the sentence of I am Saya. Okay? So first we start with I, which is subject. In English, just because it's I and not me or my or mine, so we know it's subject. But in Japanese, it actually consists of two words. One is watashi, which is a word that denotes oneself. Wa is the particle for subject. You don't have to remember this right now, but when you use watashi as a subject, you put wa, so it's watashi wa. When you use it as my, you put possessive particle no, so it's watashi no. When you use as me, you put complement case, which is ni, so it's watashi ni. So watashi stays and depends on as what element of the sentence you're using it, you have to add different particles. In this lesson, we're gonna use watashi only as a subject, so it's always gonna be watashi wa. And let's combine with another element of the sentence. So, as I said, I is watashi. We use a particle for subject wa. Am, are is, all of them is des. Singular or plural doesn't matter in Japanese. And my name is Saya. And what we have to be careful is in Japanese, the verb has to be come in the end. And then the position of subject sometimes change, but now let's stick to that the subject comes first. So the sentence order should be I, Saya, am. If we apply Japanese words to each of them, then it should be watashi wa Saya desu. I am Saya. Watashi wa Saya desu. Let's use this sentence structure for other sentences to introduce yourself. Let's start with age. I wanna say I am 23 years old. For this, first I have to explain the counter for age. The counter for age is sai. We use a special case patterns of 1, 6, 8, 10. But in this case, 6 is not a special case. For 6, you can still say 6 歳. For 1, 8, 10, you can say 1歳, 8歳, 10歳. And 23, the last number is 3 and 3 use a normal case. So first, 23 is 2, 10, 3. So it's 23 and then put 歳. So it's 23歳. Number and counter we cannot separate or we cannot change the position. So it should stay like this. But we have to change the position of verb because the verb has to come in the end. So I am 23 years old in Japanese should be I, 23 years old, am. As I already said, I as a subject is watashi wa, am is desu. If we say Japanese words in this sentence order, it should be watashi wa 23歳desu. I am 23 years old. Watashi wa 23歳desu. Let's talk about nationality. So we can say I am from Japan, for example. Here is another important grammar. This is the last grammar we do in this lesson, which is prepositions comes after the noun. Prepositions are, for example, like at, in, after, of, to, those ones. And in English, prepositions comes before noun. For example, I'm from Japan, to the school, at the school, after the work. But in Japanese, it's gonna be opposite. So it should be Japan from, school at, work after. And if we combine this grammar rule as the rule that the verb comes in the end, the sentence structure should be I, Japan from, am. Let's put Japanese words to each word. From is usually kara, but when you are talking about a nationality, you use shushin. Japan in Japanese is Nihon. We already know that I as subject, watashi wa, am is this. So the completed sentence is watashi wa Nihon shushin desu. I am from Japan. Watashi wa Nihon shushin desu. Last sentence of this lesson is to talk about occupation. It's easier because there's no counter or there's no preposition. Let's try to say I am teacher. Teacher in Japanese is sensei. And if we follow the rule that the verb comes in the end, it should be I, teacher, am. If we combine with the Japanese, it's watashi wa sensei desu. I am a teacher is watashi wa sensei desu. In chapter 0 lesson 2, we learned some greetings, and here I combined greetings and this self-introduction. So now I'm gonna do my own self-introduction. Please practice pronunciations and listening. Hi, こんにちは. Nice to meet you. はじめまして. I am Saya. 私は Saya です. I am 23 years old. 私は23歳です. I am from Japan. 私は日本出身です. I am a teacher. 私は先生です. Thanks in advance. よろしくお願いします. Right now, if you can say in this speed, or if you can understand in this speed, that's fine. But now I'm gonna read them with an English translation with a little bit faster or a little bit natural, just so that you can know how it sounds. こんにちは、はじめまして。私はさやです。私は23歳です。私は日本出身です。私は先生です。よろしくお願いします。I listed other pronouns so that you can introduce someone else. You is あなた。She, 彼女。He, 彼。And even when you use other pronouns for a sentence as a subject, you have to put subject particle. For example, if you want to say you are Tom, the word that denotes yourself is あなた, but only あなた cannot function as a subject, so you put subject particle to use it as you as subject. So it should be あなたはトムです. Otherwise, if we don't use this particle, you don't know if the sentence is Tom is you or you are Tom. Same thing happened for 彼女 and 彼. So we used only the sentence I am something, but there were already 3 grammars, so here's a recap. First, subject usually come first, but the verbs have to be in the end. Second, you have to use particle to show who did what. In this lesson, we learned subject particle wa. Lastly, prepositions, which are like at, in, from, after, those things, have to come after the noun. So instead of saying from Japan, you have to say Japan from. There were a lot of new ideas, new concepts that maybe you never used in the language you know. So it's a little bit confusing, but it's super important to understand now because we're gonna use the same grammar from now on. So please take time to revise. And I prepared 2 exercises. one is of course to introduce yourself. You can use the templates that I used to introduce myself. Another exercise is to introduce people on these photos. I prepared 2 people and 1 dog. I listed the vocabulary that you will need, so I think you can just put them into the templates. Just be careful that even though the subject is Ken, Eva, or he or she, or the dog, you still have to put subject particle wa after everything. In the last part of this lesson, I will be reading out loud the sample sentences for exercise 2, so please listen and practice the pronunciation. Sample answers for exercise 2. 彼はケンです。彼は27歳です。ケンは台湾出身です。彼は会社員です。彼女はエヴァです。エヴァは34歳です。彼女はイギリス出身です。彼女は写真家です。彼はベンです。ベンは1歳です。彼はスペイン出身です。彼は犬です。Thank you so much for watching until the end, and see you in next lesson.